Sticking with my people like we do one time. With D-Money on the mission to expand your mind. Conversation is designed to help enhance your grind. Explore some different avenues to keep your pockets lined. See, if you search within yourself, I know for sure you'll find there's many levels to success, depends how you define things that bring you peace of mind and keep your soul in line. Think how much greater that could be if we decide to combine. You put your
Welcome everybody to the Follow D-Money podcast. Once again, it's your guy Stretch. Today, I found a couple of gentlemen who have been intriguing to me, to say the least. They've been around town. They're at all the big events. They have an app that is exploding, and I've been asking and trying to get them to sit with me for a minute, and they finally agreed. I have Cesar and I have Landon of Plug in the building. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good morning. This
Thanks
is rare.
Yeah, it's also the first time I've ever had two people on my podcast at the same time. So
What did you say in the car?
I said you're gonna get two for the price of one.
right. I mean, I'm very pleased to have you guys here, and thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a good time for Indianapolis right now, and you guys are at the forefront of showcasing Indy's greatness, I would say.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. First, I would like for you guys, either of you, to either you can start, but introduce yourselves and tell us what you do with Plug, and then I'm going to ask, how'd you guys come up with the idea of it?
Okay. So I'm Landon Price, one of the founders. My day-to-day role is the CEO. I'm more of the visionary, big picture. I think we should go there. I think we have the right people.
Yep.
Let's go make it happen. Definitely the rebel out of the bunch. So that's who I am on the team.
Yeah.
I'm Cesar Paz. I am one of the co-founders and creative marketing directors for Plug. I take care more of the branding, the marketing direction, and I would say some as well as like the strategies to grow the brand in the company.
Oh.
Yep. Okay. How did Plug become a thing? How was this idea created?
Yeah, so let's take it back like 3 years.
Yep.
I was thinking about this actually on the way here. It's actually been a very long journey. People just think like we came up with this idea and we just put some stuff together, and it actually goes farther back. So 3 years ago, I was in food manufacturing engineering. I moved here from farmland an hour and a half north.
Yep.
Came down here, didn't know anyone. Turned into just out of a hobby. I was like playing with the camera, started taking some pictures, and I lived right downtown. So I was like, man, I wonder what all the being able to explore the downtown market. And so just going and taking pictures just for leisure time, and then it transitioned and was like, I wonder what the building, climbing on top of some of those buildings would look like if I were to get up there. And so I just started taking some pictures, hanging off buildings.
No.
And then I had a girlfriend at the time, and she was like, hey, you should take some of those images and put it on this new platform that just came out called Instagram. I was like, well, what the heck is Instagram? She's like,
Right.
Here, look, and show me how to do it. And at the time, there was like no one using it, but
Yeah.
I just kind of was consistently posting pictures. And then, like I was telling him, there was like a little ecosystem of a few other guys in the city. There's like 5 or 6 of us that were kind of like seeing each other,
Yep.
posting.
Yep.
Well, we started coming together and we met up, and I was like, yeah, I've been getting on all these rooftops. And they're like, no way, we've been getting on these rooftops. And it was just like such a, the kids nowadays are like so spoiled with all the social media. But at the time, that was it was such a moment of history almost, because at the time, no one's ever seen on top of the buildings of Indianapolis.
Right.
And then taking pictures with your feet hanging off the buildings. It was a new perspective of art.
Yep.
And so we believe that we like pioneered it right here in Indianapolis.
Yep.
Obviously, it kind of exploded over time, but it was really unique because Instagram actually reached out to us and we're like, we like what you guys are doing. You guys are crazy as hell, but we'd like for you guys to start what's called Insta Meets.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, what's that? And it's like, just bring photographers out, and they would send us a bunch of pins and stickers and stuff like that. And we were just adding people throughout the month that come to these Insta Meets. And then they started to kind of gain a lot of traction. And during the time I was in food manufacturing engineering, part of some really big companies like Cliff Bar and Marie Calendar Pies. And I'm really passionate about whatever this photography stuff is, and being able to like utilize my art side and the creativity. And I had an opportunity. I had some big musicians that were like kind of started reaching out, as you know, at the time I was growing a pretty good following, which at the time it was all like organic. There was no algorithms, and it was real following. And I had a couple of them that were like, man, you should come take some of our portraits and stuff like that. And at the time I didn't like taking pictures of people. I was like, no, I'm good. Ended up doing a really good photo shoot for a musician, and there was some bribery, like, man, I want to take you on this tour. And at the time I was like, dude, I got like the 401k and the benefits, and you know, it was very like, I was very at that time very narrow minded. And he was like, come on, man, I just signed with Def Jam. And so he kind of got me, because it was at the time when I was ready to get out. I was ready to go, you know, chase art and create and stuff like that. And then to fast forward, I put in my 2 weeks, and I went on a 6 to 8 month like nationwide tour. It was definitely the world's biggest disaster, but literally we're talking everything you could think of, everything. We're talking slept outside. There was like buses missed, flights missed. There was days where it's like, are we eating today? Like, you never know what was going on.
Just not the tour you thought it was going to be.
No, you have this, you know, and this is why we have so much respect for content creators, because everyone envisions like touring and all this like Hollywood stuff is like, oh. And in reality, it's like, it's the crumb of the bucket. Like, the crumb of the bucket.
I mean, it's work, and I mean, it's responsibility, and a lot of people aren't responsible and don't want to work.
I tell everyone it's like the circus, you know, the performance, you know, all the people in the crowds are clapping. It's a great performance. On the back end, the traveling, it's rough. So in that time, right, and how Word Plug kind of birthed out of, the tour was so bad. The experience, you had all these openers, these kids that were literally stealing mom's credit card, the minivan, to be a part of this like opening of this nationwide tour. Half of them were left. Like I said, it was horribly unorganized. But I was like, you know what? I could either go back home and boo-hoo and, you know, I failed, whatever, or I can stick it out for the next 25 more concerts. So I sat there and I was like, all right, am I going to complain? Or is maybe faith-based, right? I'm like, maybe God's put me right here for a reason. So I kind of like thought for a minute. I was like, all right, I'm going to stay on this tour. And so I just buckled down. I'm like, okay, what am I doing? So I took all the openers, and instead of just wasting time and doing nothing, I'm like, look, I'm going to make you guys look like you're doing it. I'm going to make it. So when your parents, your friends, so I had nothing else to do for like months. So I was just literally giving these kids like full-on photo shoots, making sure when they're on stage, making them look like celebrities, right? So I built out like 15 of these kids' social media pages. And then during that time, I was watching the crowd, and I was like, you know, these kids would be killing it, putting their lives into this stuff. But at the end of the show, there was a disconnect on how people got connected with the musician. So they'd be up there and be like, hey, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, follow me on this. And then the crowd just wasn't paying attention. And that like kind of like got to me, because it's like, we're putting in all this work, like follow these kids, right? And I was like deeply kind of like passionate about it at the time. And the inefficiency of connectivity with people around you sparked the engineering idea of going, well, wait a minute, there's a disconnect, and I think we could build something with technology. And again, it was just like a laser idea that just, but that's what I just took away and was like, oh my gosh. I think that there needs to be something that we go build, but I couldn't like conceptualize fully what it was. It was just the idea. Now we go fast forward. I get home from tour, and it was like, okay, well, the tour experience was pretty bad. I ended up having to like steal a rental car just to get home, but we won't go too deep into the whole story. But so I get home, and it was like, okay, I have to go back into the engineering world. But then, like I was telling Cesar at the time, we were seeing that social media was kind of getting closer into the business world, and I just took a stab. I was like, I think I need to create a marketing agency that gets with businesses and gets them on social media earlier on, since all these kids are using it. And so I, at the time I was in a relationship, and so I'm coming home, and my girlfriend's left me. I got a house. I got bills. Like it was it was a very dark time, man.
Yeah,
it was like you're coming home and you're just punched right in the face,
Yep.
like with life.
Yeah.
And I know my work ethic, so I was like, you know what? I think I can do this. So I had it was bad too because I had a brand new leased vehicle. So I'm over here living out of a leased vehicle. I did like 3 months where I went and made these like really basic business cards, and I was going and sliding them in every business door. And I would literally, we're talking up and down Meridian, north side, west side. I mean, all day. I'd be in my tucked in button up shirt, little sports jacket, and I was talking to every business owner. I'd be in the back kitchen negotiating deals on how I can get their Facebook up, like doing things for $50,
Right.
pictures for restaurants. We're like figuring out like how do I survive, right?
Yep.
So I tell everyone I had 3 months literally on the streets of like, we're talking like
Grinding.
grinding. Because I was betting on myself. I was like, I can do this.
Yep.
I know I could. So I think once you hit that rock bottom, it really levels you out, and you're like, okay, who am I? What am I capable of doing? And it actually taught me a lot because I realized you can negotiate deals and barter, which that's where it all kind of came about, of the bartering system. We kind of removed it in today's society where we don't even utilize it anymore. And I'm like, wait a minute, how about you pay me just $200, but you give me a $300 gift card to your restaurant, sir, and I'll take your pictures and add them to your Facebook.
Yeah.
So there was moments of time where I had like 15, probably 17 restaurants that I had gift cards. So that I was taking dates out to these places, right? And I was like, just put it on the card, right? Still living out of my car, showering at gyms. It was, but then also, going over to the library and doing my invoicing, and it was really helping me establish like how to be a business owner and stuff.
Yeah.
And
so do you have a business background? Because you say you worked in the food industry. So how did you know about invoices and all that stuff?
Yeah, kind of rare. I got kind of blessed family into the like large, they do white label food manufacturing.
Oh, okay.
So they do the mass production.
Yep.
And getting to see things at an early age, going, wow, being able to see all that stuff.
Yep.
That kind of transformed my mind a little bit to go, okay, like I know what I can do if I started my own business, I guess, watching all that.
So how did Plug become, like, how was it born? Like,
we're going to keep going. We're keep going.
Yep.
So during that time, I started realizing, I was like, okay, well, we've realized, we identified the musicians, right? That there was an issue there. Going in, we realized that working with so many small business owners, same thing.
Yep.
They're all disconnected. They're not organized, their contacts. And so, like I said, by building up their social media pages and helping them manage all that stuff, I was like, during the time, I was like, okay, well, I think I have this idea of an app. So I started kind of sketching some stuff out, right?
Yep.
And started building some modules and being like, okay, well, there's a disconnect in the social world and there's a disconnect in the business world. And it was right at the time I started really drafting some stuff up. But that's kind of going back in the marketing side. I was doing a lot of pictures and stuff in like nightclubs, and that's how I came across Rambo. And like I said, I had no idea how to even use a camera. I would just literally just
taking pictures.
I was just like, that was my survival tool. I was like, I'll figure it out. And that's how I've always kind of been, is just jump in and then figure it out.
Yep.
So that's when I met Rambo. That was probably like 2016, 2015, somewhere in that range. And then I ended up kind of meeting him online as well, and he was kind of like a guru. He was in the network marketing, and he was like kind of a stud. I was like, okay, and this, he's doing it too in the marketing side.
Yep.
And I mean, maybe you can elaborate, but I know we jumped on a call.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you guys first meet? Let's hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell them the real story.
So I'm on a dating site and I come across this girl. I'm like, wow, she's pretty cute. I'm like thinking that she's a model. I'm like, your content's sensational.
Yeah.
Like, who's your photographer? And she sends me this username, and I didn't know who it was because at the time his Instagram picture was very dark and grungy, so you couldn't really tell his identity. All you saw was just people.
Yep.
And I didn't know who he was, but I asked him, or he randomly reached out to me and was like, hey man, I'll try to get you a photo shoot. I'm like, listen man, like, I like that you're trying to sell me on this because I respect the hustle, but it's like, I'm more about collaboration.
Right.
Let's see what we can do together. We ended up jumping on a call, and we kind of share the vision of like, this is the city that I imagine. you know, being able to collaborate with people, bringing like-minded people together, you know, collaborating with restaurants and businesses to kind of live this like laptop lifestyle, and, you know, being able to experience life together, but with also having to like break the bank, but also make bank.
Right.
And that's when I remember we kind of had this like epiphany of like, wow, man, you're sharing this vision, I have this vision, let's see what we can do together. And then ironically, I was at this nightclub after the Bruno Mars concert, and somebody starts flashing me. I'm like, what? Like, what's going on? I'm like, who's taking photos of me? And I see this tall, skinny white dude. He goes, hi, I'm Landon. I'm like, you know, I never try to be, you know, rude or disrespectful. If, like, if I don't know you, I'm going to pretend like I know you just to, like, be, you know, people friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, who are you, my man? Or how do we know each other? He goes, I'm Price is Right. I'm the photographer. And I'm like, oh, hey, great to meet you. And then from then, we just.
So you guys was vibing without even meeting each other. Like, this is all through social media?
We did do a call.
Oh, okay.
And going back, I was like, at that time, there's, like I said, I'm speeding it up a little bit, but at the time I was literally like designed the whole app.
Oh, okay.
I was going every day presenting, trying to like show people like, hey, let's go build this. He was the only one after I took the call. I'm like, well, I'm working on this app that I'd like to show you. And like I said, we met after the concert. And then we fast forward, and then we like met in person. And I showed him. I was like, "Look, this is what I envision.
Yep.
I think we could build this app that enables you to meet people hyper local, and then we can exchange all of your social and business contact info." And really, at the time, it was like, it was so challenging to get people to like. I mean, you're in Sketchpads, so it's like,
Yeah.
it's pretty hard. And he was the craziest one to go, "Dude, I think you have something."
Right.
And I think, and that's another thing is like when you're building a company or you're working on something, if you don't find people that see the same vision, it's not about the product.
Yeah.
It's where you're going with it.
Yeah.
And if you're crazy enough to join forces, and you have to really dissect yourself, and you got to go strengths, weaknesses, and then vice versa.
Yep.
And then you got to figure out how to mold each other. So again, we merged together, and we kind of were like, you know, I was running my personal Instagram. He had his personal Instagram. And I was like, I think we should do this, and I think we should work together on the more the creative marketing side. And that's kind of how we utilize our talents. And it was honestly just like luck of the draw. Like, I knew everyone because I was like taking pictures of everyone in the city.
Yep.
And me and Rambo were literally taking over the nightclub scenes, both in different territories. And then I told him, I was like, we got a call one day. This is how it really kind of like spiked.
Yep.
I'll just jump to the story.
Yep.
9 on Canal, they built this huge complex. It was actually right where I lived with my girlfriend at the time. They built this huge complex. And fast forward, there was a lady that ended up getting murdered like one night, right?
Wow.
So you got almost like this ghost story lingering around online while you got all these international kids and kids moving into the city on where they're going to live and commute right over to IUPUI, right?
Yep.
So you got basically a murder case floating right on 9 on Canal. So it was scaring everyone away. They couldn't fill up the occupation level was so low. And I can't remember who the girl was, but at the time she like called me and was like, hey, or it was a guy actually, never mind. He was always like scouting our pages and watching us. And he goes, hey, we're looking for some creative marketing ideas. What are your thoughts? And we were like, oh, we're going to take them on as a client. We were like, we're getting some big clients. Then they call and they're like, what's your idea for bringing up our occupation level? And I just look at Cesar and I'm like, dude, I think with your background in events and experiences and stuff like that and all the people we know, I think if they let us put a premiere event, like really nice, I was like, I think that will be like just something really cool that we can do. We pitched them the idea. They gave us $4,000. I still remember it. We were like, oh my gosh, like we're winning now. So we went literally to like Costco. We're buying all the stuff. We're bartering deals with like vendors and getting the beer and getting all this stuff set up. And then luckily it was a win. We had 300 people show up, but where it really lingered out after the event, it was the next day a girl went downstairs, signed a lease that was $16,000. So
Okay.
through that, it was like, oh my gosh, I think we have something here where it's not selling people on something, it's giving them a full experience
Yep.
through collaboration and community. And then it was just like ding, 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 there's something there. And so, you know, that's what kind of kicked everything off more on the event side. And like I said, it was just him and I running our personal Instagrams and the network of people that we knew. To fast forward back to the Plug app, it was, I mean, it's just been this like crazy course of time of designing every aspect of the product while finding out through real people like, hey, what's your thoughts on this? If we were to build this, what's your thoughts on this? And so we lived in Starbucks, coffee shops. It hasn't been fancy at all. I mean, we're talking literally. I'm actually banned from a bunch of coffee shops here in the city. Literally, like people like think, oh yeah, but I needed real people's feedback. So I would just be like, hey, I got a couple quick questions. I'll buy you coffee. Like, would you mind if I showed you everything that I built? And I had some like prototypes and stuff. And there was like, there was a few coffee shops like, hey, we don't accept panhandling. Like, you've been here a bunch of times. You're bothering guests. Like, you're actually like, we're calling the police. And so there's literally like a couple places I can't go here in this. Still to this day, like I thought maybe by now they would like maybe forget and like forgive. Dude, I walked into one of them and they could like, no big deal. Dude, literally just barked. He even barked at me. He was like, bah, bah, bah.
One thing about Landon, I will say, he's one of the most persistent people I've ever met in my entire life. He will talk to every single person. He will network with everybody. He will always pick up a business card. We have a joke. He has a backpack full of just thousands of business cards that he's collected over the years.
I actually brought it, and I was gonna bring it in here, but I was like, this looks bad. It's a bag.
It's a whole bag. But I think that's part of his, his character and who he is that has allowed to where we're at right now. Because if it wasn't for his persistence, if it wasn't for just asking random people, he wouldn't have found the gem or the connection piece to the next level, to the next, part of the journey. And where we're at here, it's literally been a collaboration of a lot of people's feedbacks, a lot of people's insights, and just finding the right people.
More on the business side. Yeah, we ended up, so I ended up, like, again, through the marketing and stuff like that, we kind of started, through our marketing agency, I started a dog leash company. It's a whole nother story. And we ended up going down to Miami, and I was presenting at an Amazon conference. This is how we got the Plug app actually really going. And we're up on a panel, and we're teaching people how to utilize social media and making your brand look really cool, aesthetics and influencer marketing and all that stuff. And after the conference, I actually had a buddy beg me to go. I'm like, dude, I don't want to go. And I hate talking, honestly. I hate this stuff too, but I'm doing it. But ended up going down there, and after the conference, it was like a networking thing, and this, I can still remember, it's like this guy who's like 5 foot with braces comes up and he's like, hi, I like what you're doing. And he wrote his first and last name on a piece of paper, and he gave it to me. He's like, get a hold of me. I'll be in my hotel for the next couple of days while we're here. I didn't think anything of it. So I'm like, again, I'm persistent. So I'm like, hey, if you're interested in investing in our dog leash company or our marketing, I'm like, okay. And had a really good conversation with him. Long story short, he invested into our dog leash company and ended up finding out he had a bunch of other small companies, and we kind of took him on as a client, built a really good relationship with him, and he flew into Indy and stayed with me for a little bit over a weekend. And I was like, yeah, like everything over on here's going, but I want to show you something. And I opened up, it was called the Black Book, we called it. I still have it, but it was all the layouts. It was this huge rollout I had that kind of showed the whole entire wireframe of the product. And he was like, wow, like this is insane. There's so much like detail behind all this. I was like, yeah, like I think we're going to go build this maybe like later on. Me and Cesar kind of like working on this. And I could still remember I was down in Miami at another event. It was a conference, and I remember it was like storming, and I was on a call with him. And he just asked me, he's like, what are you doing with that, like, the Plug app? Because he was at church one day, and he had this epiphany that he was like, all these people are sitting in the pews, but no one knows what each other does. And so we're very vague with our, like, hi, good morning. And it's like, okay, well, if we're all congregating, why aren't we diving deeper into what each other does professionally, socially? And that, he goes, well, what are you doing with the Plug app? And I was like, honestly, like, you don't want to tell your current investor that you're working on something on the side. Like, that's like the biggest, like, no. So I was like, well, I haven't really found the right investor, so I've just kind of put it away. That's what you're supposed to say.
That's a little.
But every day I'm like setting up meetings. I'm working on it. Yep, we're working on this. But he goes, well, why haven't you ever asked me? And I was like, it kind of like set me back for a second. I was like, oh crap. I was like, honestly, I was transparent. I was like, honestly, I just figured you wouldn't want to jump into another venture while we're working on this one. He's like, no, let's do it. Let's look into it. And it's so crazy because there was a developer, and like I said, if you haven't been in the tech world, developers are they're the most strangest human beings, the most challenging human beings. One, they're in such high demand in the workforce right now, so they are like the LeBron James, right? But I was at the Speakeasy in Broad Ripple, and I was watching this kid go, and like it looked like Matt Damon, where he's on the whiteboard with Robin Williams and like all the numbers and stuff. And I'm watching this kid. I'm like, who is this? Looks like Zuckerberg too. So it was like, I'm like, this Zuckerberg looking kid. I was like, who is this? I'm seeing phone layout, and it was ironic because the Wi-Fi went out. And I had to go over to him. I was like, hey, man, is the Wi-Fi not working? So it's kind of like my excuse why I had to talk to him. He turned around and he's like, oh, no, it's working fine on me. I was like, what are you working on? And he says, I'm working on a mobile app, blah, 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 blah. He's basically just left Microsoft and he had some time. Well, we basically stayed connected and that story was kind of a year ago. So I stayed with this kid for a whole year and literally would bribe him for breakfast to like, hey, what's your thoughts on this? So for a whole year, I literally would like track this kid down to help me build Plug. He always said no. He's like, if you could get some money, this was the key part, I will help you. Yeah. And I was like, okay. I ended up calling my investor. I was like, I got a kid. I think he can do it. He's going to build it for us. He's like, all right, let's sit him down. I sit him down. I go, I need this built. I need it built. So we built the intellectual property behind the product is like, we're running basically a Maserati, very high performing sports car on how we built it on the back end, right?
Yep.
We had very specific details on the geolocation and messaging and privacy toggles and all. There's a lot more in depth into it, but to fast forward, I wanted this to be a really good product. Like we're talking, it's on Android, it's on iOS, it's web application, it's cream of the crop. So it's like, let's not cut any corners. Let's perfect this. Yep. I go, can you build this? He goes, yeah. I go, I have $50,000 for you. Him and I literally took my whole sketch pad, and for 3 months, we had this like small parameter of time before he was potentially going to go to another bigger company like Google or Yahoo. Him and I literally sleep, breathe in this conference room, and that's all we did was program, design, back and forth, and it was just him and I. And so it was one of the most. I was like calling him and he was checking in on us too. It was like almost the most exhilarating moment of my life because it's like for 3 years you're literally setting up breakfast meetings to investors and showing them sketch pads and the rejections and the door slammed in the face and the people who are like, you're crazy, it's not going to work.
So what are you doing all this time, Cesar?
Oh, man.
We were still running the marketing agency.
Yeah, we were still running marketing, doing events. I mean, that was always my background is experiential marketing. I've been brand ambassador, marketing manager. And so I realized that through community, that's how you can not only really gain influence here in the city, because that's how people get to know who you are, what you're doing, what you're about. And some of the things with our events is, there's this culture of like everybody's trying to get mindless, right? We wanted to get mindful when you come to our events, bringing people value, like through connections. Like we wanted to intentionally invite all the top influential people in the city, from influencers, photographers, real estate agents, everybody that, can bring something to the table, and just put them all in the same room and give them one hell of an experience. Yeah. And so through that also allowed us to embed almost like the early seeds of what this Plug app was going to do, because we saw it in person. Yeah. People would meet, hey, what do you do, who you are? Okay, here, follow me on Instagram, or here, write my number down, or here's a napkin, who has a pen? And so that's when we started realizing it almost allowed us to get more feedback from people in a real life situation on how we can make that connection more efficient and connect people with the right individuals.
Okay.
So yeah, the whole mission after that point has been, we're living in a world nowadays where we're so connected, but it's like, I feel like it's so weird that we walk down the road and we don't know who's around us. What did these people do? Yeah. And I feel like we're just missing great opportunities, new friendships, relationships. And I feel like nowadays if we don't change the narrative of, and then again, I'm going to put my product out there because we believe in it, right? But I believe if we don't shift the culture to like utilize the Plug tool, we're going to miss the greatest experience of human connectivity and the evolving. I mean, technology is such a beautiful thing. Yeah. But it's so abused right now, right? So we're keeping up with people we already know, but we're not engaging into who's in our community and what do they do, right? And that's where he's right. The events that we were doing, we were kind of like almost like beta testing, case study. What do we take away from this event? And like I said, we had a kind of rush to build the product. A lot of things that we missed, a lot of things. I mean, you're building something from ground up. It's not like a cookie cutter, like example package. Like everything was literally itemized, button by button, size by size, dimensions. And so we put it out there on a beta test August 6th. We brought about, I think, a couple hundred people to the office, kept it very private, put it on their phones, forced them to build their profile, and then we watched what they did with it. It was great. The app stayed alive. Fast forward, we went into Ciroc the New Year's. It was one of the events that he kind of helped put together. It generates like 2,000 people each year. It's on a consistent basis, right? But we're like, let's launch on that day, on January 1st. And the whole engineering team and I, we just literally just lived at the office, and we got the product ready. And it's kind of weird because there's so many regulations when you're pushing things into the live Apple Store and Google Play Store, and it's like, it's insane how much stuff goes into it. But we're like, we made it through the verification process, and we literally, like, the day before it got approved could be considered live.
Yeah.
So we went live January 2020, and we were live on the App Store. We went guns blazing. We were like, let's go, like, let's get people to download this thing. And literally 6 days in, there was a kid. I'm going to tell him the story.
Please do.
So think about it. We're at the peak of the hype. We just crushed New Year's. We got this app out that we've been literally dying to build. And there was a kid we interviewed years ago, and he was a freak of nature for sure. Mark Cuban almost hired him, like, directly under his team. He built a bunch of computer games that profited very well.
You interviewed him for what?
As a developer, sorry.
Oh, okay.
The problem was his developing skills he was taught like in old like Python things that weren't relevant to today's stuff.
Oh, okay.
Long story short, we denied him. So he thought, okay, you guys are going to deny me? So what he did was he got into our beta link, stayed in it, and as we pushed all the code live, like, this is stuff no one knows how to do, first off. Once we pushed the app live, he stayed in our source code. Oh. He got into this backend token. Again, this is stuff half the people listening are probably like, what the hell is he talking about?
It sounds crazy to me. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah. He stayed in the backend of our code, which is pretty secure at the time. And what he did was, out of spite, he went in and changed everyone's profiles. We're talking.
No, he did not.
We're talking. What's a proper word that it was pornography, explicit images.
I get a call from one of my friends, Vito. He goes, "Bro, what is wrong with your plug picture?" I'm like, "What? Like, what do you mean is going on?" I get on the app, and I'm just like baffled. Like, I'm like, "Is this really happening?" And like I said, all my profile pictures were changed to like nudes, and this person had like a bot that was like messaging all these girls and like pretending to be me, and then people were screenshotting that. I'm like, oh shit. I call in.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, we have an emergency. Like, get Phil, our developer. We need to fix this ASAP.
It's like 12 o'clock at night, and we're getting literally, I'm watching the source code. I'm like in the back end looking at everything. I'm seeing like this kid put literally a virus in our bag. He's having communication with other people.
So when you denied him, he had this plan the whole entire time.
I think so.
Yeah, you had.
And he's smart enough to figure it out.
He's a witty little kid too. Like, when you talk to him, you want to smack him. But
yes.
So again, we took a really bad hit. It was bad.
Especially on a PR as well, because then people were thinking is like, wow, you guys just launched this great app, and now you guys are already getting, attacked.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good look. And then like the PR of that with the messages that were sent out, I had to personally, get on my Instagram and like, hey, this is not me. Yeah. I think this is something going wrong. There's a bug. Yeah. But yeah, I apologize.
So that was a big thing. We took a huge hit right at the beginning. We had to pull the whole app down for a minute.
Okay.
Get him out. Yeah, we unplugged, literally.
Unplugged plug.
Unplugged plug. And then we went back and we're like, okay.
So how do you secure it to where he can't get in?
You already know. Yeah. So much goes into it. Right. But basically, by
a lot of work.
By shutting it all down, we were able to go in. And how he got in was through, like I said, the login process of the beta. But like he said, he stayed in it. So we went in and we fixed login. That's really what it was.
Okay.
But then again, all right, momentum's building back up. We're good. We're in motion again. We're thriving. We're trying to figure out, okay, how do we market this thing? We didn't want to just say, hey, here's this app. So we're trying to the whole team is like, okay, what's going to make us cool or different or unique? And again, I've been traveling the U.S. that whole entire time, so I was like picking things out of L.A., right?
Yeah.
Those kids are interesting.
Yep.
New York kids are interesting. Miami kids, and like seeing how they're doing all their creation, and it was like, I was like, okay, collage style, and let's go feature people who live in our city. Same
Okay.
thing. So we're starting to get this
So
idea.
you were making content for these creative people.
Not just people who live in our city that are interesting,
Yep.
that we either feel like should have been on the app,
Yep.
or that did download the app to
Yep.
check it out. And we were almost going, okay, let's bounce around to the bloggers, the athletic people, the misfits, or the creators. So we are trying to find out who wants this app.
Yep.
And then at that time, then guess what happens? We're over here in Atlanta, right?
Yep.
I had this crazy idea. We have Will Dirk's manager in town. We end up getting a meeting with this guy. We show him the product. He's all like loving it, right? We thought it would be smart to put Little Dirk as the face of the company. Everyone knows what the plug is.
Yep.
I'm sure you're going to ask how we put the name together, right?
Yeah.
Well, when Rambo and I was in the nightclubs, I was always in the urban nightclubs like Buddha Lounge and places like that.
Yep.
With a red camera. So all the dudes would be coming up, you must be someone. I'm like, why? Because you are the only white dude in here with a red camera.
Right.
But they would start saying, you're the plug. You're the plug. And at the time, we didn't know what, this is going back, but we didn't know what we were going to call it. But fast forward, we're like, plug. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's in the business world. It's in the social world,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I don't know where we were. I just jumped back.
Lil Durk.
Will Dirk, yeah. So we were like, Will Dirk, plug. He puts that green lights up for Chicago. You know what I mean? And we had a good momentum here. So he green lights it in Chicago. And then we were like, okay, we're on to something. So we're in Atlanta trying to negotiate this deal to make him the face. And the whole world is shutting down.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking COVID. I mean, we're talking red screens. Like, the whole world's shutting down. You can't go anywhere. And we're, like, in Atlanta at the worst time possible. So we're over here trying to negotiate the deal. It's just bad. I'll just tell you that. You already know. It's all bad.
It's bad.
It's hard to work with these people when they're cream of the crop. So, like,
Right.
trying to take a meeting and be organized, calendar invites, the whole 9 yards, it's
Yeah.
like, it doesn't happen. So,
I would say we were excited and we were optimistic
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
Potentially have someone with big influence, get behind the app, invest into it. But now we're so thankful that it didn't fall the way it did happen
yeah.
because, he's not I would say now, not the individual that, promotes what the world that we're trying to,
Okay.
create.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
And like I said, we being more on the faith-based side, we feel like God closes purposely doors that, hey, you probably shouldn't go there. But we'll give you a good experience during the time so you can feel it all out.
Right.
So we're in Atlanta. The whole world shut down. Did we drive or fly? Oh, we hopped on a flight, didn't we?
yeah.
So no one's in Atlanta airport. Just me, him, and our other business partner. No one. Like, no staff, no nothing. We're just sitting there. And we miss our flight, right?
3 minutes late.
3 minutes late. So we spend the night there. Still, we get back to Indianapolis. It's a ghost. No one's out. And we get back, and going back a couple years ago, there was a guy in the city, and they said, if you can find this one guy in the city, he's the most connected guy in the city.
Yeah.
And it was very ironic because I get a call one night, and it's actually Chris Beatty.
Yep.
And he calls me. He's like, hey, I need you. And there's a reason why I'm telling you this story. He's like, I need you to come up to this penthouse and have a meeting with me. I'm like, okay, this is weird. I'm like, okay. He's like, bring your camera. I was like, okay. Well, I know now that's kind of normally the calls that I would get, which at the time I was like,
Yeah.
okay, sure.
Yeah.
But I was tracking this guy down. I was like, who is this guy that is so connected in the city? And I was trying to find out who it was.
Yep.
And I knew he was somewhere downtown. So Chris Beatty let me up at this penthouse. I was like, okay, this is interesting. I take some pictures of him. He was just up there chilling. And we were having a meeting about something at the time. And this guy comes out of the room. I was like, well, who's that? He's like, you don't really need to know, but he's the most connected. He's like the plug, right? And I was like, I think that's a guy everyone's always talking about. So I kind of felt like I got in, right?
Yeah.
Come to fast forward, that year, in 2020, I get this guy that's like basically sitting. He came and knocked on the office door, and it was him. He was like, I heard about you guys. You guys are interesting. It was Tommy. Right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I kind of opened up the hood. I said, here's what we're working on. Here's where I think we're going to go.
Yep.
And he kind of it was really interesting. It was late at night. It was like 11 o'clock. He walked by the office window and like saw me in there by myself, and he just came and chat. And we were in there for like 2 or 3 hours. I shared him the vision of where I see the company going.
Yep.
And that was it. And then it was really interesting because we stayed in contact. And one night we were having an event at our office, and he brings this guy. He looks like the Karate Kid. What's this?
Ralph Macchio.
No, remember the sensei? Miyagi, right?
Yeah.
Basically, he comes in, but a really stylish, like 80s, like muscles,
Stud guy.
Stud, right?
Yeah.
He brings this guy, and we meet him, we shake hands, and he came to our event, and it was really nice. But what Tommy was doing was bringing this guy around to show, hey, there's some really talented companies in this market. I think you should look into.
Yeah.
We didn't really think too much of it. We ended up going, and it was Revel at the time. We went out and had a really great time with this group of people that were in town. And then the next night we went and had dinner, and I go, I think he's kind of a big name, Cesar, so go find a really like hot chick to like bring to dinner with us. And we found one of our girlfriends to just come, and which it did work. It did kind of work. But we had a really good dinner with this guy, and we're kind of like sharing the product, sharing the vision, and something at the dinner like really clicked with like the vision. And he wasn't really so focused on what the product was. He was more like, what's your core values, and how do you guys envision the world? And we're like, honestly, we envision, a world that the vast majority can wake up each and every day and feel empowered to do whatever their passion is. And then based off community and hyper local technology, the finger painters are going to have like an explosion of work, and like, the creators and musicians and et cetera. And he liked it. He was like, this is good. And since then, that was 2 Thanksgivings ago, really. He has kind of put this like hand on us a little bit, and he was like, I think I can get you guys all the resources that you need through my group of very intelligent individuals from like the CIA, from background in like technology, biggest companies in the world. It's like 5 guys that have come together, and what they've created is this global collaborative network.
Okay.
They envision a world that it's more community, it's unity, and it's very like technology driven. And he put us on this project to like get our pro formas together, get the company really buttoned up, and so we've been really working on this like $5 to $7 million raise. It would be a Series A, and that's what we've been really working towards. So again, like I said, there's been a lot of challenges of, we're birthing new technology in the Midwest. Obviously, we're so late to market. Everyone's like waiting to see what the other markets do before they do any, consumer behavior, right?
Yep.
So we've kind of acknowledged it, like, let's stay here in Indianapolis. Let's get all the awkward stuff out of the way. Let's let everyone poke at the product, poke at everything. Let's clean house, set the company up on more. His vision was like, let's not focus so much on the downloads of the app. Let's build the brand. Yeah. So then when we step out to the other metropolitan markets, like the Chicagos, we look lethal, right?
Right.
We have a following. We have good aesthetics on our social presence. We have time to build the app to where it's like you can't get on it and be like, well, I wish that bug didn't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One thing that we also had this realization almost like 4 or 5 months ago is that at the time, trying to promote and market an app in an unknown kind of state where people don't really just check out new things. We're so spoiled with, the tools are already out there, the platforms are already out there. It's like, why plug? Like, why would somebody get unplugged? It's like, yeah, some friends will get on it because, they're close homies. But I said, like, okay, let's stop just talking about the app and let's build a community around there. Let's really focus and create, core values that people can resonate with. And that's how we kind of now identify Plug to be. It's about people first, community, collaboration, and connection, right? Because we wanted to allow people to connect more than just a follow. Everything that we do, from our marketing to getting people to see who is around you, it's always people driven, and through collaboration and community, that's how we're going to be able to like empower people to work together to, do things that you wouldn't probably do with people that you probably didn't know. And so that's how we're kind of more pushing Plug right now. It's like, hey, when you join Plug, which is ironically our username, it's like almost like a call to action, like join Plug. You're not just joining an app, you're joining the community, joining this mission, this vision that we are creating, and you can be a part of it. We're in a unique time right now, and the Plug app is just a tool to make connection easier.
Okay.
He's kind of pioneered he's had some crazy ideas during the course of time. And first off, I'm like, when I say blessed to have someone like him, dude, talk about, that's why I invited him. I was like, I need him because you got to have that right brain, left brain, the person that fills, your right-hand man. And so he's came in and has taken such a leadership role in both organizations, because during the pandemic we had to create a subsidiary company called Plug Live to survive, literally. Like that was kind of during the pandemic. It was like, well, we got to get creative, I mean, when people take money, and this is like the business talk, when you take money from someone, and I give people the real analogy, you got a gun to the back of your head. Like, you just gave me $120,000.
Yeah.
Do you think that he's going to want to see that go down? No. So I told him, I was like, I don't care if we're even in a pandemic. We got to continue going.
Yeah.
So we got creative, like fast. Like, we lived in the office. We were like every day, 18 hours a day, pumping. But what we did was we started working with all the restaurants. And we're like, going back to the bartering system, right? Yeah. I was like, let's get creative. So what we did was we were bringing people out 15 at a time, and getting this like restaurant underground, like prohibition style, doing a private events, right? Yep. But we were sharing the app, we were sharing the mission, we were sharing the vision. He came up with this idea, hey, I think we should call these like the doer dinners, and he created this basically these campaigns called doers. Instead of calling people influencers or network marketing or anything, let's call them doers. And so we created these doer dinners. During that time, we bought a photo booth, which it was great, because we were like, oh, let's buy this for ourselves. But then I was like, well, wait a minute, let's utilize it for other people's events and help their stuff. So during that course of time, like, some people look at the pandemic as the worst thing ever, which it was, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it also, if you look at it from both sides, it was also a blessing too, because it helped us like refine a lot of the company stuff and get really organized and creative. So, I mean, kudos to you, man. By the way, sorry, I want to rant.
Okay,
right now.
Look, so we know about the app now. We know how it started. We know how you guys met.
Yeah.
Along your way, what was the best advice you heard trying to go forward, like moving forward? I know you had some hard times. You guys both probably at the bottom. What made you? What was some advice that someone gave you that you never forgot, and it helped you move forward?
I mean, I'm a big fan of like Steve Jobs, and I do look at because like even at their time, like they're building the personal computer in the worst era of time, when you had rooms that were this big that were computers, and then to challenge people and say, I'm going to take this whole room and consolidate it into a machine that's this big, and I'm going to sell it to a consumer at home. That's mind blowing. So always like kind of favor him, but I think his analogy is like you can't look forward, you have to look backwards, or whatever what is that? I know you know it. It's basically like
no.
It's your example, bro.
Yeah, I know, that's bad.
You'll learn.
You can't connect the dots looking forward.
Okay.
Only when you're looking backwards. Now, so you go through all the bad stuff, but you now see that's what it was.
Okay.
Now you can connect the dots when you look backwards through the journey that you've went through.
Yep.
There we go.
I think for me, it was more just like a realization. I've been in multiple startups. I've done a couple different ventures, and I told myself, I believe in this so much. I see this so clear in my mind that I don't want to not see this manifest to something that I feel it's going to change the world.
Okay.
And I think that was the internal drive for me that even makes me still be here today, is because I don't want to see that die down. Like, I want to be a part of that. I really truly believe that what we're on is going to change the world, and it's just like an exciting like vision and drive. And I think that was just like my own advice, because I told Landon, it's like, I believe in what you're doing. I know we're crazy, but crazy is good.
Yeah.
I like that.
But yeah, I don't want to not see this.
I'll piggyback off him. Sorry, I was looking for like the Google quote or something like that, like whatever it is. But going back, I think it's the vision has kept us like going, because it's so clear. In our eyes, we're like, no, this is going to work. And I think when you have that synergy of we're getting there, like today, like this is a huge milestone.
Yeah.
Because we like I didn't know anyone when I first moved here. So now to be on your show with the influence that you have, that's like surreal that we might have captured someone's attention for what we're doing, right?
Absolutely.
So I look at those like very detailed, like that's a milestone.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And surreal also, like I always say, when this guy showed me sketchpads to now there's the app on people's phones here in Indianapolis, a lot, but not to where it's going to eventually go. it's an exhilarating and kind of surreal experience because
Yeah.
now people know what it is. People know what it does. We've been able to, like I said, being able to go from like getting not even into the nightclubs to now like shaking up hands with like the owners and people here in the city with bring other influence. It's like, wow, like we've been able to do a lot, but sometimes we don't even realize that, you know,
Yeah.
we get a lot of, appreciation, and a lot of people show love, and we're so grateful for everyone because now that's what's going to like motivate us. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
keep going, keep going, keep going. We know that what we're doing it's onto something. And I was telling my girlfriend, I don't really know where this thing could go, but I
Yeah.
mean, even like Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, like nobody knew what that ultimately was going to become.
Right.
So we're in that prime time right now where, you know, with the
So-
grace of God, everything is just unfolding to where it is.
It's make or break.
So, what would you guys consider successful in your realm?
Oh, I have such high expectations.
Yeah. Well, how would you define success?
You know, I even look at that as like, what's failure? You know, everyone's like when do you? I think it's when you give up is when you failed yourself. Because I think it's infinite. Like, you know,
Right, but failing is failing. Like when you fail something, it's done. But how do you define success?
I sometimes hate these questions.
It's like, do you
but-
think that you guys are successful now, or are you guys reaching a goal of success?
Oh yeah. So like that's why I don't really want to take the podcast with you. I don't I don't look at this. I think this is a milestone and grateful for the opportunity, of course, and
Yeah.
everyone's time involved for sure.
Mhm.
But when
Like
I
we're
look,
just getting started.
yeah, I feel like I haven't like really released what I've been trying to get my vision out to. So again, when it's global, and I mean, at that point, I would say, I would say that's my success point. Once it hits international markets and it's used around the world, and I mean millions.
That's
and-
when you feel like you've been successful with the app.
yeah, just because I literally have such high expectations.
Okay.
But I have to I know how I operate. I need something that's so far out, that's so hard to grab, that I know that I have to have those increment days of the 24-hour workday of what's Landon doing in a 24-hour day to get to the next day, the next day, the next day, to get to global.
Yeah.
So-
How long do you think that takes?
My goal is, I mean, I have pretty high goals, so I want to be global, and I'm estimating because 2030 I want to build a building here in Indianapolis. So I'm like measuring the time.
Okay.
Okay, when I cut ground of the building, I'm thinking about 8 years it's going to take us to be international. I know at less than 5 years we'll be nationwide.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, that was a lot.
Success for me, it would just be the impact. You know, the impact in just on the application, being able to see people have real stories and testimonials of how, you know, they've met their business partner and they build a new company, or, you know, people came and met and now they got married and had kids.
Yep.
I think that's going to be that point of where it's going to be a success, because it was this idea that we kind of envisioned, and now it manifested and it's having real life impact in the lives of others through this tool that we designed.
Yeah. That's dope. So why did you guys decide? Because you said you don't like you've never done a podcast, either of you.
No, first time.
So what made you decide that this is the moment that you should do it?
It's definitely a feeling thing for me, for sure. Like
Yeah.
I said, you and I built a really good chemistry. I feel like every time I see you, it's a good energy.
Yeah.
And I really do. I'm kind of cherishing the little moments now, like who's actually rooting for us. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And just the love that's out there. And so it was a feeling thing for me, but then it's also like I told him, I think we have to do, like, this is like, I'm trying to run towards the things that I don't like to do now.
Yeah.
Like if I don't like it, I'm trying to run faster towards it. I
Right.
don't like public speaking, so I'm trying to run faster to it.
Yeah.
So doing everything that's so uncomfortable, because like I said, in our role, if we want to go global and we want to do all this stuff, it's like you got to go internal and dissect yourself and find out, how do I rewire myself or get better at everything.
Yeah. Well, I think you seem pretty comfortable here.
Yeah, great job, man. I think for me, just being able to be in this podcast today, it's just one of the chapters that will be in the ultimate storyline.
Yeah.
I think that we're at a point where, like I said earlier, we don't know where this thing could go, and we can look back at one day and be like, hey, on this day and this time, you know, we were here, and from here, look where we got. And allowing us to share our story is huge for us, because there's a lot of people that they think that they know what the plug is, or they hear about it, and maybe they see on social media, people think we're just like party promoters. It's like, look, guys, like, we are working on something, then it's all right. And we understand that there's some people that may not be able to like fathom or understand the vision that we see, but being able to like even just give people a glimpse of like where we're at, but showcasing like where we're going, it's special for us.
It's another thing. It's like the perception is like some people think so far off what we're trying to do, which, like I said, I think that's where these podcasts and things like this come in to really iron that out. Because if you look at like from social media perspective, like we're bartering cars, like hustling restaurant, like it's so much like we're two street kids. Like at the end of the day, we both didn't finish school. Like we have no prior education. I'm a union background. He's a street kid, Venezuelan. I mean, we literally have had to like figure all this stuff out. And so that's where I think, going back to your question, I think this irons it out a little bit. It's like, oh, that's what they're doing versus what you digitally see that I put out for my 10% of time. See what I mean?
Yeah, I see that. Well, this time at this moment, you've told the story, and you know I've got a few questions in. This is your moment now to give the audience a chance to know what plug is. So you gave us the story, but now I want you guys to plug right now. This is your shot. Go
ahead, Cesar.
I would say, just give you this narrative. It's like you walk into a room, a Starbucks, an airport, a nightclub. There's all these people around you, and you have no idea who they are and what they do. Just imagine being able to see who's around you and be able to connect with them instantly. There's no more exchanging contact information, social media, follows. It's one app, one tool that you can connect, contact, and collaborate fast.
Okay.
But imagine that, Stretch. That's literally going to happen.
Yeah.
So think about that. We go in the nightclubs and we see the dudes in the corner or the chicks in the wolf packs. But then again, that's it, right? And now with COVID, it's super awkward. Like, how do I engage with you? Do I stand close? Do I stand far back? Do I wear a mask? Am I vaccinated? Like, there's too much going on in the world. So we truly believe that like the culture shift is going to be people will preview each other from across the room, and it's a universal tool, because if I'm an introvert, I can stay far away from you, read about you, connect with you, and then run. Introvert. If I'm extrovert, I can be more aggressive and be like, oh my gosh, you're Stretch, and now I have more substance to talk to you about, right? Versus, you know, the icebreaker kind of conversations where, nice shoes, man, what do you do? You know, here's my business card.
And really, we've had this idea that we really want to challenge the status quo of, you know, social media metrics, because somebody can walk in and they showcase their Instagram, and it's like, oh, you got 500,000 followers, or you got 2 million followers. Like, you think like you're some like god, right? To the average person. We want to change it up to where the more connections that you build on the app, you become that in that location, the plug. Hey, you've connected this many people together, and be able to like create metrics that it's value driven, right? Hey, you've have collaborated with this many people, so like you're the plug on your city.
So like you, right? Instead of, you'll have a social following, but plug connections, and then your business connections. But like I told you the example of like Instagram, they rewarded us for our following and our creativity. We want to almost take that same approach to each city, to where we feature a Stretch, let's say, in your community, and like we give you a car or a vacation or something like that. He's the plug, because you're throughout the week, you're utilizing the tool to get Cesar connected to, you know, a Rambo or a John. And then through that, they went and created something based off your relationship. Because like we look at it nowadays, it's like verification of who you are. And like, I mean, you know, so many people that you could take someone and put them in a whole nother level of their career just based off that one connection. But it's based through you, though. That's where there's a currency to that. There's like a digital currency that isn't really spoke upon.
I think I like the aspect of your app, because like there are times when people, you'll go into a club or you'll go into a restaurant and you see people interacting, and you want to know why certain people are interacting with certain people, and you're like, who is that guy?
Yeah.
You know, and some people don't have the balls to go up and be like, hey, who are you?
Exactly. It's
You know,
terrifying.
so you know, and with your app, you'll be able to just say, oh, this is this guy. He does that. You know, I can connect with him on this level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's pretty dope.
True story. The app has actually saved me so many times because, you know, we meet a lot of people, and at least for me, I'll be honest, like, I'll forget people's names. Like, I'll never forget your face, but I'll forget people's names. And, you know, it's kind of rude to, like, hey, guy, or hey, man, how's it going? It's like, you want to be like, hey, Jeremy, how's it going? And so through the hyper local location feature, you know, I've been into a room. It's like, oh, what was that person's name? And then boom, he shows up, and now I go to that person and make myself with a better introduction.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because we're living in the world where it's like people know each other only on usernames.
Right.
You know, that for the time people used to call Landon Price is Right because it's his personal Instagram,
Right.
or hey, Life of Paz, it's my personal Instagram.
Yeah.
And so we want to change that. It's like, I want to know you for who you are, what you do, and like your full name, identify you with your full name.
Yeah.
There's also a key part to it too, is, you know, we all know that like LinkedIn just isn't it, like, for us.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not.
We just know it.
Yeah.
Right. But then there's also, we're starting to see that there is an effect of social media, right? There's the mental health. And that's something like we're really honing in on, is we want to go build really good technology, right? It's not designed to keep you addicted in the app, which the engineers right now at these bigger tech giants, that's what it's designed to do, build the algorithm, build it super addicting, so then I can later monetize off that. We want to build it to where we build algorithms that start to learn about you to get these kind of things happening quicker and faster. So while you're scrolling, it's putting a feed of people that are very similar to you, or people that can almost benefit you through your life on a personal side and social side. So we almost want to change the narrative, get people off social media, to get people more aggressively in tune with people around them. So I think mental health is huge. I scream about it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's sad that mainstream media doesn't talk about it.
Man.
That's the pandemic, really.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Mental health is a big issue, and social media does not help it at all.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, we're losing a lot of our like great young people, and so it's like, that's why I said it's more than just go build a technology company, IPO it, sell it off. Like, we don't want to sell it. We really want to go like solve these like really world problems and see if our vision aligns with that. If we can go put this out there, it's nationwide, people are using it, will we see a culture shift?
One thing that brought me back to your earlier question is like, how do you define success? There's one key term that kind of came to me, to be honest, that I want to be able to see, like, be like how we now word or understand like social media, right?
Yep.
We call it social contact networking.
Mm.
And that's what we want people to do on the Plug app, right? It's, you're scrolling on a hyper-local level to the people around you, and you're connecting with them live, right? Social contact networking.
Okay, that's like different from just following somebody,
Yeah.
because you're actually next to the person and you're following them.
Let's go back to you. Let's ask you questions today. So people follow you.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that interesting to you? Are you curious? Like, why are they following me?
Yeah, I'm interested sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I do this like new thing. Like, I started a personal page like a year ago, I think it was, or last year. Yeah, it was last year. But instead of just following people right back, I kind of do this thing. If I see you out, I'm like, hi, I want to introduce myself. I noticed you followed me. It's kind of creepy, right? A couple weeks ago, but I want to make sure like we meet in human form.
Yeah.
Before I just follow your life.
Right. So what if somebody follows you in Miami? Oh, you just don't ever follow them back. That's all.
I don't know you yet.
Yeah.
But when we get to Miami, I'll come find you.
Well, I had a great time.
This is good.
I mean, I really appreciate you guys coming, and I want to ask you guys a serious question.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-oh, he's like smirking too. That's how you know it's bad.
So this is my last question. I always ask a really, you can call it stupid, weird question. So if you guys, I guess I'll say both of you separately, but if you guys were stranded on an island all alone, and you can only have one album to listen to for the rest of your life, what would you pick?
An album?
One album.
Is it a record or a CD? Where are we going?
Whatever you pick is up to you. You can pick you can pick a comedy album. You can pick a CD. You can pick whatever it is. It's just one album though.
I mean, I'll just jump in. I enjoy good spiritual music. I love it.
Okay.
I can't like. I'm in the night scene so much, but for me, I enjoy like uplifting, really good, vibrant music that's like powerful. I just enjoy that stuff.
Okay, what is it?
United Hillsong Group.
United Hillsong.
You just gotta
Group.
like put it in the car.
Christian.
Oh, it's Christian music.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
it's
yep.
good. And dude, once you're just cruising, it starts to give you a different perspective. It's like, man, we could be doing way more here. Like, pick up trash and
You know,
help
when
that
I want to
homeless
listen
guy.
to when I want to listen to Christian music, I just throw in a DMX prayer.
Yeah,
I'm a little different.
that's all
Well,
right.
if you're on to all the Spotify listeners, I actually came across this really cool. It's called Christian Trap.
Oh yeah, it's
Christian
cool.
trap.
It's
Yeah,
good. It's
Christian
good.
trap and Christian hip hop. It is so lit, and it has like the beats that like little Uzi and all the little Dirks, but with like the gospel and like real live spiritual like messages, and it's just uplifting and powerful.
Yeah,
But you would never know. Like if we put it on at Envy or
they would
wherever,
they would dance to it, but they wouldn't
they wouldn't-
listen.
and that's
Yeah.
I think the trick. You
Yeah.
know,
Because the term Christian trap is kind of
sounds weird to say that.
that's kind of
It goes hard.
oxymoron.
It goes
We'll
hard.
send him the link. He should.
No,
go check it
I
out.
believe the music. I'm just saying, like somebody told me that they listen to Christian trap. That's like I'm a Crip blood.
Or
my
Christian EDM. Oh, that's another one.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
What about you?
What
I haven't
album would
muted
I
you
listen
through
to?
either. Yeah,
Oh, I'm going with probably the Chronic
Chronic.
or Snoop Dogg first
Yeah.
album. Yeah, those two for me.
So last question. How
Oh yeah, ask me a question.
yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah,
Like,
go ahead.
I'm normally the question one. So, do you see how much longer are you gonna stay in Indianapolis? How long is this gonna keep going? Is this, are you in and out? You gonna grow this? What are you gonna do?
I like what I'm doing here.
Okay.
I don't have any plans to go anywhere, and I have a lot of exploring to do in this city. So I'll be here and I'll keep trying to find these stories that I keep having. So I'm here.
I think you can build this up to be bigger than like Fox 59 and all that stuff. Like, because people aren't watching that stuff anymore. You know.
Yeah.
If you
No,
look at
I mean the vision I have a huge vision of what I want to do with the podcast.
Yeah.
But I have to first start with my own studio.
yeah.
And then I want to grow it into my ultimate vision is to build a mobile studio and travel and do podcasts on the road.
Like almost like a tour bus. Like you're just
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah, I
on the
mean
go.
my vision is a Sprinter van.
Yeah.
And I drive
set up
it
like this.
set up like this, maybe the 2 seats in the back.
Yeah.
And I interview across the country all the people who I find interesting in these. Like I'll do a tour, like drive up the coast, the East Coast or the West Coast, and make that one whole season.
Yeah.
Wow.
You
That's
know,
kind of cool.
yeah.
I can see it. Can you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm looking for investors, so
when you say you're looking for another studio,
yeah.
we just are getting the keys to another office on Pennsylvania Street. Are you looking for somewhere to duck off, or you want to stay right here just because how this is all set up for you?
Yeah, I like the aesthetics here.
Yeah.
I love Tim and Cut take care of me, but I mean I want to be my own boss 100%. I want to dictate what I do when I can do things, but the round table they take care of me.
Yeah.
I like it here, but I'm always exploring, always trying to grow. So yeah.
So this is what you feel like you're called to do? Like, is this your passion? This
This is
calling?
my
Like,
passion. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it took a while for me to find it, and
But what's your advice for other people? Is it to keep searching for it? Because it's like, I mean,
Yeah,
what,
absolutely.
31? What are you, 31?
45.
No way. What? Holy smokes.
I'm 45.
Wow. Impressed. So
No,
going back, so
no,
it doesn't matter the age, just
No,
keep finding it.
I think that if you're searching for what your passion is, you'll find it. But I think what happens is people get caught in not trying to look for what they're passionate about because they go into a lane because we're all trained to be successful is making money or having a family or doing things that are very comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that once we decide that we want to take a risk and do what we are passionate about, first you have to ask yourself, what are you passionate about? And then just dive into whatever that is. You know, if you're passionate about people, work at a club, be a bartender.
Yeah.
You know, and then maybe you will meet someone like Cesar or meet someone like Landon, and then you guys can collaborate on what you see as your vision for people. You know what I mean? Like without chasing your dreams or chasing your passions, you'll never get into what you want to do because you went to school to be a teacher.
Scary.
You know what I mean?
Scary how we're tricked.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, I'm so thankful for this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
I think keep going, man. I mean, I'm all for it. I support you down to the T. So.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Well, I want to first of all, I want to thank you guys for coming.
Yeah.
I mean,
for having
Cesar,
us.
thank you
Thanks
for
for
coming. I mean, not only do I love seeing you guys out, I also do have another question. How do you guys decide what events you guys are a part of? Like, what makes you say we want to be here or we want you to come here? Like, how do you decide who goes where and where you guys show up and put your name on?
I'll jump in. I mean, it's definitely the relationship. Like, I liked your guys' what you guys were doing. So
Yeah.
It's like, how do we, what we're working on right now is on Plug Live, which is the premier event company. It's either we tailor our own event, like we're working on a hot air balloon event, which is on the Low on the 17th.
Yeah.
Hot air balloons going up, EDM, house music, good energy.
Yep.
So that's something we would tailor to what we want,
Yep.
right? Or we collaborate with other people that we feel as if it aligns with our branding, and obviously it just makes sense with the
Yep.
group of people. But go ahead, Cesar.
No,
That's
I
more
mean,
your lane.
It's crazy. Like, we're literally on the same page. It's just about the collaboration.
Yep.
It doesn't really matter if somebody pays us a lot of money. Like, if it doesn't align with what our vision is or our values are, it's just not worth, getting behind something that.
Yep.
And so I think it just goes down to, hey, is this going to help amplify the both of us, our companies and our brands?
Yep.
And if it doesn't, we just have to say no. And we've been learning right now just to say more no and be more intentional with the yeses.
Yeah.
Because now with as hyper busy that we are, we have to give our time to something that's going to keep growing us or is going to keep building value to others.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
So
Well, do you guys want to plug your socials so we can get people, if they want to get in contact with you, how does people find Cesar or Landon on social media?
personally, or just
Whatever you want to do.
I think I like putting the attention more towards the brand personally.
Do what you want. You could put your attention toward both.
I think our the best thing to showcase the company, I feel like, is the Join Plug Instagram page.
Okay.
I feel like just there.
Just join plug at
just-
join plug.
At Join Plug on
Yep.
Instagram, because like I said, it's not about Cesar and Landon, and
Yep.
that's what we really try to hone ourselves on. It's like we're just behind the scenes, right?
Yep.
People first.
Yep.
So that's our focus.
Right on, brother.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming out.
dude, this is great.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time. Thanks.
As always, go to